Brendan Dassey trial transcript day 6, continuing on page 124, cross-examination of Blaine Dassey by Attorney Kratz. Can you tell the jury, please, where on the 17th that was parked? It was on the outside, on the left side of the garage. All right. I'm going to show you what's been received as exhibit number 67, and although in that photo we see it backed into the garage, the 31st, that is, on the Halloween when you got home, you remember seeing that Suzuki outside of the garage to the left, or what would be to the east of your Uncle Steve's garage, isn't that right? Yes. Now, do you know how that Suzuki Samurai got put into your Uncle Steve's garage and when that happened? No. You know that it was just sometime after Halloween? That is after the 31st. Yes. Is that right? Okay. When you left at 5, Blaine, I'm sorry, sometime before 5:20. I guess you didn't say 5. You said sometime before 5:20. Remember seeing a fire behind Steve's garage even then, even a little after 5? No. Did you look? In other words, do you know if there was a fire, or did you just not see it? No, I didn't look. I didn't see it. It's two different answers. Did you look? No. Okay. Attorney Kratz. If I could have just a moment, Judge. I have no further questions, Judge. Thank you. The court. Any redirect? Attorney Fremgen, please. Redirect examination by Attorney Fremgen. When Mr. Kratz was asking you some questions, you said that you had seen Stephen, your Uncle Stephen, dropping a bag into a burn barrel, correct? Yes. And he showed you the picture, and you agree that that was the burn barrel, correct? Yes. Now, when was this? When did you see him dropping the bag into the burn barrel? When we were walking down the driveway? And by we, who do you mean? Me and Brendan. So you and Brendan were walking down back from the school bus? Yes. Sometime after 3:45? Yes. You indicated that Jason's mom picked you up about 5:20? Yes. But that would have been down by where the bus drops you off and picks you up? Yes. And you said it takes about how long to get down that road? 3 or 4 minutes. So you would have left sometime 3 or 4 minutes before 5:20? Yes. Mr. Kratz was asking you if you recalled speaking to law enforcement on November 7, correct? Yes, 2005, correct? Yes. I know that's a long time ago, but he indicated to you that your answers seemed to be different from back then, correct? Yes. And do you agree that some of your answers are different? Yes. Do you recall telling law enforcement back then that you actually got home between 9:30 and 10 that night? No. You don't recall saying that? Do you recall saying you actually saw Brendan when you came home that night? Yes. Okay. And that was on November 7 to law enforcement? Yes. Okay, thank you. Attorney Fremgen, nothing else, Judge. Attorney Kratz, I have nothing. Thank you, Judge. The court, you may step down. Attorney Fremgen, I do have one more witness if it should be very short. The court, very good. You may call that witness. The clerk, please raise your right hand. Michael Kornly, called as a witness herein, having been first duly sworn, was examined and testified as follows. The clerk, please be seated. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record. The witness, it's Michael or Mike Kornly, Kornely. Direct examination by Attorney Fremgen. Mike, what do you do for a living? I work as a sales manager for a company out of Milwaukee, and I also do some yard work as an extra job. And do you generally live in the Manitowoc Two Rivers area? Yes, I live in Francis Creek. Are you familiar with Brendan Dassey? Yes. And how do you know Brendan? Brendan is Blaine. He works for me currently, and Blaine's brother, and Brendan worked for me for a period of time. And how long have you known Brendan? About 3.5 years. Would you be able to, well, for instance, hypothetically, would you have called him on the phone? Would you be able to recognize his voice? Yes. Now, do you recall where you were on October 31, 2005? I was in Birmingham, Alabama. On that night, or at some point on October 31, 2005, did you contact the Dassey residence? Yes, I did. By that I mean, did you call them? Yes, I called to talk to Blaine to see if he was going to come to work on the following weekend, because he hadn't worked with me the weeks before, the 2 weeks before. Said that he was putting on a roof on one of his uncle's cottages up north, and it was working with Stephen. And do you recall what time it was that you called? It was around 6. I think it probably was about between 5:45 and maybe 5:50. I think it was before 6. Did you speak with Blaine? No, I spoke with Brendan and asked him if Blaine was there, and he said no, that he went trick-or-treating. And I kind of was taken aback. I said, well, he can't be trick-or-treating, he's 17. And then he told me that he had taken his friend, Jason, 2 brothers, and they went trick-or-treating together. How long did the conversation between you and Brendan take place? Somewhere around probably 5 minutes. And do you recognize that voice on the other line as Brendan? Oh, yes, yes. Attorney Fremgen, I have nothing else for this witness. The court. Cross-examination by Attorney Gahn. Good morning, sir. Good morning. How long, Rick, had you been in Birmingham, Alabama? I got there on Monday, and I was still there until Thursday. And did you call from, I'm sorry, were you staying like at a hotel or something? Yes, I was staying at the Sheraton, the Marriott Courtyard. And did you call from the hotel phone, or did you have a cell phone, or what? I don't exactly remember that. I'm quite sure it was my cell phone. And at any time since the day that you made that call, did anyone ask you to check your cell phone records for the exact time of that call? Yes, I think Brendan's first attorney asked me if I had a record for it. And do you have a record for the time that you made that call, sir? I didn't find that telephone call on my Sprint record, which means I could have made it through the hotel operator. Sometimes my phone goes dead at the end of the day, and I could have made it through the hotel. I honestly, I wish I could recall. I just can't. Do you recall November 7 of 2005, which would have been shortly after, what 7 days after October 31? Uh-huh. Where 2 agents did come to your home to talk to Blaine? Yes. And do you recall telling those agents that you thought the call may have been around 5:30? You know, I don't remember that. That is possible. I thought it was 5:30, but I got back to the hotel and I made the call, and it could have been between 5:30 and 6. And for that fact, could have been between 5:15 and 6:15? I'm just asking you, sir. Yes, it could have been, because my day usually ends sometimes around there, and by the time I get back to the hotel, it might be after 5. So sometime after, it was sometime after 5, though. Is that fair to say? Yes. I thought Brendan told me that he left about 5:10 or something, so I would have already missed Blaine then. So, because Blaine wasn't there for me to talk to him. So the call could have been at 5:15, or for all you, as you recall. Is that fair to say? Yeah, it's possible. Okay, it is possible. All right, I thank you, sir. Thank you for coming today. Attorney Gahn, that's all I have, Your Honor. The court. Any redirect? Redirect examination by Attorney Fremgen. I just have one question and follow up to Mr. Gahn asked you about meeting with law enforcement as to that time frame when you made that phone call, correct? You had, yes. Remember that? Yes. Conversation? And you said, or the question was asked of you, do you recall telling them it was 5:30? And you said maybe? Yeah. It seemed closer to 6 because, I would end my day probably around 5. I wish I could recall, and I don't, but I thought it was closer to 6 because what Brendan had said to me is, well, Blaine had already left by about 10 after 5 or so, and so this seemed like, it was a while, like he was gone almost an hour already. So it was sometime after Blaine had left, as far as you recall from the conversation? Yes. And do you recall telling law enforcement it was 5:30 or 5:45? That was the time frame you gave to them originally? It's possible I could have told them that. I could be off like that. Okay, thank you very much. The court. Any recross? Attorney Gahn. No, Your Honor. The court. You may step down. Thank you. Attorney Freeman. That's the last witness for today that we have available. The court. All right, then we will adjourn until Monday morning at 8:30. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, don't talk about this amongst yourselves or anything about this case or to anyone else. Thank you. Have a nice weekend. We'll see you Monday. Court stands adjourned at 11:44 a.m.